Okay, so good morning to everyone present over here. I'm Manas from BSc IT batch third, batch second is here to deliver my PPT, which is based on introduction to SQL Server. So without any wait, let's start with the topic. So welcome to my PPT. As we know, in today's world, the world is data driven. Everyone know every company needs their data, and every data is important to them. So what SQL Server basically does is that it maintains our data, it helps us to organize our data, and it helps us to keep the records our data. That is helpful for the company to monitor their sales and to monitor how much improvement they are doing every day. So first of all, we will understand the foundation, understanding the database management system, like what the database contains and what the database has. So everyone know every company has to organize their data. Every company has a bulk of data, and they need to organize their data in such a way that if they're searching for some data, then they will get those data in some minutes. So for getting those data in some minute, they need to organize them in the proper way, which is supported by SQL data server, which help us to organize the data in such a way that if we had to find some particular record from a particular thing, then we can just find it by writing some queries on the table. And another is the role of the business application. As we know, the business application is really helpful to the user, because it helps them to store the data. It also helps them to retrieve the data, and also helps them to manipulate the data. And the platform which help us to manage the data, which is the BMS and RDMS platform. It basically it does that it is like a server, where we can keep our data, and it is a robust infrastructure that is very efficient for the data storage and maintenance. And now we will know what is SQL Server. SQL Server is basically a product of Microsoft. It was introduced around 1990s. Okay. So the SQL Server is known as the core of the database engine, because as we know, like there are many databases in existence, like Oracle and many other things, but the main database that is used all over the world is the SQL Server, because of its functionalities. It's business intelligence support. The SQL has the business intelligence support, which help us to monitor what the sale is, how was the previous record, how was the previous sale of the year, and everything. And it's precise analytics. SQL Server also help us to know how the sales will be in the future, and how the growth of the company will be in the future. What is the role of the database server? So we will know what is the role of the database server. Historical management of data. As we know, in a company, if we are working, it's not like we will only have 5 to 10 records. A company have lakhs and millions of records. So to managing them efficiently, we need a database server, so that we can take out what data we want in very less time. Another is enabling business operation. As we know, if in a large company, if you take a lot of time to take out the data, it's not really efficient. It will not work like that. So by using SQL Server, we can make our business very efficient. And it is also a foundation of some application, because SQL Server is basically the backend. It is connected to the backend of our application, which helps us to maintain the data in a company. Here are the key elements of the business application. So I did the case study of the human resources scenario, and here is what I found. And it can be broken into 3 fundamental elements, which plays a crucial role in data management. First is the presentation. The presentation is also known as a user interface, in which the user can see their details. User can also see their records and etc. things. Another is the application logic. Application logic is basically the code where is the code where everything is coded. And another one is the data management. The data management is like the backend where we manipulate our data, where we make changes with our data. And it is really important to design an effective database, because if we don't design an effective database, then what will happen is, if the data is here and there, it will be a problem to like see things. It will be really a problem, like if we want to find a particular record from a particular time, from a particular date, it will be really hard to find it, because there will be so much data and it will be very hard to sort it. So that's why it is really important to designing the effective database. So to design the effective database, first we need to understand the SQL Server components, like what SQL Server provides us, what SQL Server help us to do with our data, and we can also integrate the SQL Server with another applications, and also we can help us to like store our data in this application. And there are some basic SQL commands that are present on the SQL Server, which is really important, because without that we cannot manipulate our data and we cannot retrieve our data. Some SQL Server comprehensive ecosystem. SQL Server provides us an ecosystem in which we can store our data very efficiently. The first thing that comes in an ecosystem is the data storage and security. We know that SQL Server is really secure. It helps us to store our data very nicely, and it is a mechanism that encrypts and accesses the control. Another one is the query management. As we know, there are some commands in the SQL Server which help us to manage the data. It also helps us to manipulate the data. It also helps us to add the record, and it also helps us to sort our data. Another one is report and analysis. Like in the SQL Server, we know it mainly the SQL Server is used for the business model. Yes. So what it does is that it intelligently generates the reports, and it also generates the future outcome, what the future outcome of the company can be. And another one is the integration surface. The SQL Server provides a seamless integration between multiple apps, and we can also add SQL Server anywhere in a database, in an application, and we can also use as a database of the backend. What is the key takeaway from the SQL Server? As we know the fundamental road of what the SQL Server is capable of, and what it can be used, and how it can be used in a company. So the key takeaway are SQL Server is really vital for the data storage and management. The business application rely on the robust database backend, because without the database backend, we won't be able to retrieve our data, and we won't be able to update any record. And understanding SQL component is key to effective design. And SQL Server, SQL is a universal database language for interaction. The next step are we need to know how the SQL Server is installed and how its configuration is done. We also need to like practice the queries that are on the SQL Server, so that we can know what SQL Server is capable of. We need to delve ourselves into the principles and normalization of SQL Server, and we also need to experiment with different SQL Server like SSIS, SSRS, and SSAS. Thank you. That's all from my side. If any one of you has any questions, then just go ahead. Please go ahead if you ask some questions.
Is SQL database or database management system?
What?
Is SQL database or database management system?
SQL is basic.
Come closer and
Okay.
give answer.
So SQL is basically a database management system, because in that we maintain our data, we retrieve our data, we also manipulate our data in such a way that any user who is working on a backend of our databases can see our data very, very clearly, and also can manipulate our data as time to time. We also know that we need to sort our data time to time, right? It's not like we have kept our data and we will not use it in the future. We need to use it in the future. So basically the SQL is data management system. That's it. Thank you. Do you understand it?
Yes. I have also one question. Tell me the difference between database and database management system.
So the basic difference between the database and database management system is that the database management system has more queries than the database, right? It can efficiently handle multiple records at the same time, which the database is not capable of. That's why it is called a database management system. Thank you.
I'm asking you what is the difference between database and database management system?
Still your question is unanswered.
Yes, sir.
His question is, what is the basic difference between the database and database management system?
So that's what I told. Like in the database.
See, what he